Bobcat Breakdown takes you inside Bryant and Stratton College athletics with interviews with coaches, players, and friends of the BSC athletic program. We will dig inside the game plan and break down the wins and losses, also giving you highlights and breaking news. This is the Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome to another great installment of the Bobcat Breakdown here on the campus of Wauwatosa for Bryant and Stratton College, where we go inside the athletic program talking to coaches, players, and friends of the program. Today we have a very special guest. First year, we kind of talked about it, but second year head coach of our men and women's bowling team, Mitchell Hook. Coach, thank you for being on the show.
Yep, thanks for having me. Yeah, kind of crazy going into what I almost call the first year because it's almost the first full real year, but really our second year, so it's a good time to be
We had the
getting back
COVID year, the COVID season last year. We're still in COVID currently, but now you guys are able to compete a little bit more freely. Let's get a little bit of background before we start talking about the seasons. Talk about where you come from and how did you land the job here at Bryant and Stratton College, Wisconsin.
So how I got from where I was to where I am now, okay? So I went to Winona State where I bowled, and I bowled for 3 years because I took 1 year off kind of to get a little bit of composure we were on a club team, so it was more student led. So that actually led to when I was a senior, I was bowling, but also more of a kind of giving coaching to a lot of the other students. So I was already almost started coaching while I was still in college, which I did have actually some success while doing that, making a couple what we are all tournament teams, which are if you're in the top 5 individuals for day one.
Right.
Made a couple of those while not only trying to do that, but coach, which is very distracting and really hard to do. So one of the things that I was actually really excited to bring to the college is get away from that, give students that experience where they have that person to say and have that, and it's not always like student-led or disagreements there. You have someone in charge kind of making the decisions. But I kind of actually just was like, you know what seemed like a fun thing to do job-wise after college, and I was like, I enjoy coaching. So I kind of did a Google search, and it kind of led me to where I was, and really it's been such a fun journey since then. It's kind of been crazy where it was a quick process and a really fun process, and ever since then I've kind of been just like eat, sleep, bowling kind of. Even when I'm not bowling now for myself as much, I'm actually just coaching or in an alley or watching other people. So my life still revolves now around the bowling alley, but in a much different way, which is kind of fun.
That's a cool aspect. You went from being a bowler as a player to immediately within months turning around, and now you became the head coach here at Bryant Stratton, leading our bowling into our first chapter of bowling, being competitive bowling. You said a great thing earlier. You said that when you were at Winona State, there was a club team. Now talk about what are we here at Bryant Stratton?
So we are actually under the NJCAA.
Yep.
We not only get to compete we do compete quite a bit of the year against 4-year schools. We actually do compete against my former team, which is kind of interesting. But then we also do have an aspect which they don't have. We have the national tournament for NJCAA, but we also do offer things like scholarships, but we also have way more benefits to have the schooling backing us up because we are a team for the school. Versus just a club where there was trying to get people into it, and it was so variant on the year versus having someone really go out and try to find people every single year to start growing the program. It was kind of like it had a roller coaster of ups and downs trying to get people.
I mean, I was assuming guys have to have an advantage. How many schools, whether it's 4 year, 2 years, in the state of Wisconsin that actually offers scholarships to compete in bowling, to get just education and compete in bowling?
So for the ones that offer scholarship, Really, it's hard to almost think of. Like, a lot of them are the bigger four-year schools, probably, that are, I want to say, more private. So then tuition is normally a little bit higher. And then some of what you get athletically actually kicks it back down almost to a state school. But where we're at, it's kind of like, it does actually serve an advantage from what I've seen. Even compared to what I went through, I'm like, man, this is something I never thought of while I was in those shoes. So it's kind of nice to be able to bring the view of going through a different program and bringing that to here, and really seeing how this could benefit people, and people might not necessarily see that at first, and just educating them.
Now let's talk about our current situation. This is year 2 for you with our bowling program. What is the team constructed of? Do we have a women's side bowling team, and we also have a men's side bowling team, and you're coaching both,
Yep.
correct? What is your process in recruiting, and then how's the team doing so far, and only the second year of us been existing in bowling?
So I'll try to do this in 2 parts. The process of recruiting is a lot of me normally trying to go out and watch some of the youth tournaments when I have free time on my weekends. That's kind of how I get.
Sounds like a coaching job. You gotta go out and, on your free time.
Yeah, it's kind of go watch. So my Sundays are normally reserved for bowling, even if I'm not coaching that weekend. It's going out, seeing people, but also trying to go out, watch high school if I can. Even just see sometimes social media, seeing what tournaments are out there and then what they post for results, and try to stay up on that and really use everything I can. Because a lot of actually youth tournaments now for bowling has started towards once they get into like their step ladder. They don't always like live feed the whole tournament, but they'll do it the step ladders who are like the top advancers, and then they'll give info.
What's a step ladder? Because I'm listening to you like I had no idea what that is.
Okay, so
there's probably people out there listening like, what is a step ladder?
So the step ladder normally like throughout qualifying, which can be 6 games, and then whoever's total highest, they normally do like, then they take the top 4 plays 3, and then whoever wins that goes on to 3 versus 2 if that's how it goes, and then 2 versus 1 if the top seed kept winning. So you basically get first round buys for whoever left on, and then you just keep going against, and whoever wins and moves on to the finals.
Right, and then so men and women team. One of the things here at Bryant Stratton College, we really don't have our own facilities and like our sports across the board. Where do you guys and girls practice at and kind of actually compete sometimes?
So we practice out of Bolero, which is actually just pretty much up the street, it seems like, compared to some of the bowling alleys I've seen and of that I've even known of other colleges. Sometimes I've heard of colleges having to drive quite a ways. Ours is like probably 7 minutes, which is pretty close compared to quite a bit of schools. But it's also a bowling alley that there are at least 1 college tournament hosted there a year. So we do also have the advantage of being able to stay home for a weekend versus some other programs where they're always traveling and they never get to actually have like a tournament at home. We almost have 2 because also AMF West, which is not far from some of our apartments that some of the students are in. That is actually another bowling alley that we have a tournament at later in the year. Because just last weekend the tournament was at Bolero. So it was really close and
easy.
Close to home.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's interesting that it's close and it's nice, and they're big center, very accommodating for what we need.
Now we talk about the players we have. What about the skill level? It's early in the program, so I'm assuming when you're recruiting, are you recruiting guys and girls who bowled their whole life? Are you willing to take people who haven't probably bowled before, or they're just kind of like me? I'm a probably 80 bowler because I don't do it as much, but give me some days of competing over and over, I get better and better. Like, what type of skill level are you looking for when you're out there recruiting bowlers?
So last year we did take on a few people who have really not bowled before, and I got them back this year, and the biggest thing that I thought was great about them is they wanted to come back. No matter what, they wanted to bowl. They had fun with it, but we are still taking people like that, but we're also now getting more into, we had even one kid who's pretty much been bowling his whole life last year who was really good for us, and now we're getting more students like that in. and we get more students contacting me about that. But yeah, we take pretty much from all spectrums because I don't really also, like whatever we can get to strengthen the team and have a better understanding. We normally have different views, and actually that sometimes helps strengthen the team as a whole.
Right. Like I said, really early in the process of having a bowling team, but what is your goals from like year one you had last year, year two, and where do you envision this program going? Because the Midwest there's bowlers here in the Midwest. Like that's one of the things, you can go out west, out east, and down south. I've always realized that bowling is big in the Midwest, especially here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin and Wisconsin State High School is crazy compared to like where I'm from, Minnesota. It's a whole different thing, but to be so close to each other and be so different was crazy for me to come here. And yeah, it's so refreshing to kind of have, Wisconsin does, not only on their state level, but even their college level, encourage bowling so much. And we have so many tournaments for college in Wisconsin, Illinois, just in Rockford, so that's not far for us, which is really refreshing to kind of have such an area around that. And it's just kind of a new experience for me too, is having all that support around there.
And the long-term vision for this program, where do you see that you can probably elevate this program to be?
Really with more and more, and the more we get out there, because it's been from year one to year two, when I'm going and watching tournaments now, I have more kids going up and talking to me than before. Like, it's so much nicer to be able to go out, and it almost makes it hard to think about the future because of how much that changed between just the COVID kind of year while we're still in COVID. But from year one to year two is so, like, my mind's normally constantly racing with what it could potentially be and what I want it to be. And like, one of the things that I'm really looking forward to this year is going to nationals and bringing a full team and using what we learned while watching nationals last year a little bit too, while we went to nationals, but going to see and improving on what we saw there. Because I think nationals this year will be really fun, and I think it will only continue to get better. And I really feel like we have the support to be able to create something really well and really kind of on the two-year kind of field for in Wisconsin. I think we have something to be really special, that the more we get that out and can finally get that out, students will realize how special that will be, and it will just keep skyrocketing.
Well, you were trusted a program from the ground up, and it seems like so far you're doing a great job. We want to thank you, everyone here at Bryant, Stratton, Wisconsin, and the whole program. That is the head coach here at Bryant Stratton bowling man and women team. You are locked in to the Bobcat Breakdown.